We open on a young boy, his weapon drawn. A sparkling figure approaches him. We get a better look at the figure the boy is pointing his weapon towards. It's a beautiful woman, wearing no clothes. Flashback to a few days earlier, in the slum town. Monsters that look like wolves are chasing down human beings and tearing their throats out. We see a crowd of people running for their lives from those beasts. And that same boy from the beginning is running with that crowd of people. He thinks to himself, a weapon. There's gotta be a weapon somewhere. And we learn his name is Akira, and he's from this slum town. Just then, something catches his attention. It's a weapon being fired. We learn the person firing that weapon is a portly bald man. He's using the people as bait, and he shouts, "You losers will make perfect monster bait." A bullet flies through a man's head. He hits the ground right in front of Akira. And he tells himself, robbed, stepped on, and finally killed, and devoured by monsters. Like hell I'm gonna die like that. He makes a bolt for the weapon. He dives for it, and is able to grab it. He takes some time to admire it, but he doesn't have much time, because a giant wolf-like monster is baring his fangs at him. He is shocked. That monster lunges for Akira, and it chomps into his shoulder blade. He winces in pain and lets out a yell. Akira, while fighting through the pain, rams the weapon down the monster's throat and unloads the entire clip. He thinks to himself, I did it, and the monster's head is blown clean off its lower jaw. It wasn't Akira who took down the beast. It was a man dressed in expensive looking armor. And Akira says, "You're a hunter." And that man, weapon drawn on Akira, crazed eyes, tells him, "Hey kid, don't touch the damn monster's corpse. Even that is an old world relic worth tonight's dinner." The hunter tells Akira, drop the gun and get the hell out of here. But Akira makes a break for the alleyway, thinking to himself, the gun is mine. Akira makes a run for his life, barely dodging bullets being unloaded by the hunter. And he thinks to himself, I can be a damn hunter too. I'll show him. I'll rise to the very top, while he clutches his small handgun. The city this is all taking place in has the insanely rich people living within its gigantic walls, shielded from the dangers of the lands that they call the wastelands. But a poor kid like Akira has nowhere else to go but the slum town, and they're situated pretty much right next to the wastelands. Most people live and unalive there. But if you can get money, you can earn your way out of here. And the way to do that is, you become a hunter. And if you manage to make your way through the wastelands, there are places where relics from the old world remain. The relics you get there sell for a very pretty penny. Rumor just so has it that the hunters who get their hands on some insanely valuable relics and make it home can live within the city walls. Akira is left walking through that wasteland, laughing, panting. This is the place with old world relics. Akira looks disheveled and tired. He is walking through a giant wasteland of buildings from our time. Akira cautiously makes his way through the city, holding onto a small card. It's his hunter's license, and from today onwards, he's a hunter, and he'll show him how to bring back relics. But sadly, and unfortunately, Akira is not paying attention to his surroundings, while a man jumps out and grabs him by the arm. He goes for his weapon, but then he's surrounded by two other men, making it three, pointing their weapons at his head. One of the men huffs and says this brat doesn't even look like he's worth the rags he's wearing. Akira thinks to himself, wannabe hunter bandits, huh? That man mocks Akira and strikes him in the stomach. He then lands a good clean punch on Akira's face. Akira spills blood from his mouth, and the man lets him know that this is the end of the line for him. Akira covers his mouth as blood spills from it from that beating he received. He got his name wrong on the hunter's license. They called him Ajira, but he lets them know as he wipes the blood from his mouth. His name is Akira. The man lets him know that he spelt his name wrong on the hunter's license, and the child can't even read or write. And he tells him, I'm bored anyway, hand over what you got. But something catches Akira's eyes. It's that figure from before. That sparkling figure is approaching them. Everyone's attention is trained on her, and she says, Are you a hunter? She asks, Can you see me? Akira springs into action, draws his weapon, and shouts, Don't move. Judging from the reactions from the hunters, they can't see her. Only Akira is able to see her. Akira, weapon still drawn, shouts again, "I told you, don't move." One of the guys says, "Hey, what is it? What can you see? Could it be a ghost from the old world?" And just like a ghost, Akira's hands phase right through her body. She tells him, "Unless you want to cease to be, you have 10 seconds to jump inside that building." She begins to count. 10, 9. Akira tries to say something, but she continues to count. 8, 7. And then she ominously says, "Too late." And she lets him know, "You're no use. Goodbye." And just like that, she disappears. Akira makes a break for it, thinking to himself, unless you want to cease to be, you have 10 seconds. As Akira closes the distance to that building, an explosion happens and sends him flying. But the explosion is so powerful and so bright, all we see is a silhouette of Akira. The boy doing the only thing he can, he tucks and rolls, shielding his head from the explosion, hoping that he makes it. He barely makes it, panting and out of breath. And just like that, that old world ghost appeared in front of him. She turns to him, happily, with light sparkling behind her, wearing clothes now, and she announces to him that her name is Alpha, and it's nice to meet him. She then issues another set of orders to him, tells him, "Next, head up to the stairs, to the roof." She starts counting again, 5, 4. Akira books it while shouting, "What's wrong with you?" An explosion happens behind him as he makes his way to the roof. Akira barely makes it to the roof and takes some time to catch his breath. He says, "Alpha, was it? Please tell me what's going on." And Alpha cheerfully announces, "Roger that, Ajira." And he corrects her by telling her his name is Akira. She cheerfully winks at Akira and says, "Well, you were about to get killed by a weapons dog attack, so I gave you the support you needed. Are you with me so far?" Akira says, "Weapon?" And she says, "Try looking down below." We are greeted by big, giant, beastly wolves with machine guns growing out their back and robotic bladed tails, circling, sniffing, searching for their next prey. These are weapon dogs. They were originally created to police urban areas of the old world, but they're now biological type monsters. And she says, "Do you see how the cannons are growing out of their backs? The nanobots inside their guts produce guns and bullets." Akira then asks the million-dollar question. "Okay, but more importantly, what on earth are you? Are you a ghost?" Alpha lets him know that no, she is not a ghost. What you see of her is a form of augmented reality. It is created with high-grade technology from what you people called the old world. And Akira says, "Augmented reality?" She tells him that he perceives her as if she was actually here because the sensory information is being sent and uploaded into the parts of the brain that deal with sight and sound you see. Anyway, now for why I actually came here to talk to you about. You're a hunter, right? And Akira says, yeah. She gets down to eye level with Akira and says, "Well, I was counting on that. And since you're a hunter, I have a commission for you." She wants him to capture an old world ruin. Akira wonders, can he even reach that ruin? And she says, "Yeah, no, you would cease to be. Frankly, these ruins are of a very high difficulty level." Akira lets out a "Aw," but Alpha goes, "As a form of advance payment, I'll compensate you by being your perfect support, and thereby even you will certainly be able to get out of there alive, Akira. And in the event that you succeed, I'll present you with an old world relic you can sell for a pretty penny." The boy excitedly says, "For real?" And Alpha responds with, "For real." But the excitement soon leaves his eyes. He tells Alpha, "Thanks for helping him just now, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to turn down your offer." Alpha says, "Akira," with a little bit of darkness in her eyes. Akira then tells Alpha, "I just now realized why I thought I wanted to become a hunter. Till now, I've been cheated and stepped on countless times in the slum town. People would say, 'You'll get great food,' they said. 'You'll live beyond the wall,' they said. Because I believed those lies, I was cheated, robbed, and abandoned by the roadside. I lost everything I ever had. And that's why I'll never let myself be stepped on again." Alpha tells Akira, "Akira, I've got to tell you, by getting this job offer, you just used up just about your entire life's share of luck. So, if you don't take this contract, you are screwed. More importantly, after this, the monsters down below will certainly end you. Are you really that desperate to be ended? And Akira lets Alpha know, I came to these ruins fully prepared for the worst. If I'm going to cease to be here, I guess that just means I ran out of luck after all. But he really doesn't feel like giving up either. Alpha glares at Akira and says, alright then, Akira, I'll make you a deal. She says, I'll be your support for a while, as a tryout period. Once you think you can trust me, we can enter the contract. How does that sound? If I support you now, at least you won't have to cease to be here. Akira thinks about it, looks at her and says, alright, but if I begin to think you're being suspicious for even a moment, that'll be the end of it. And Akira and Alpha stand back to back. Alpha lets Akira know the #1 rule, and that's he must absolutely follow her instructions. Alpha then puts her head on Akira's shoulder and lets him know that if you don't, then no matter how much I might support you, you are going to cease to be. Akira says, alright. Akira stares down at the giant monsters with twin cannons strapped to their back and bladed tails. Alpha lets him know, great, now in order for your life to go on after exiting this building, you just have to get past those weapon dogs. Akira says, how the hell am I going to do that? Alpha lets him know, there's a pattern to the weapon dogs' movements. If you take their individual characteristics into account and analyze the patterns, it's no big deal. She beckons the young boy to follow her. We get a closer look at the monstrosities known as the weapon dogs. A giant cannon coming from its back, its armored body and fearsome face. It's truly a terrifying beast. Alpha lets Akira know, if you took a blast from one of those, there wouldn't even be a splat left on the wall. She happily says, that's why you've got to run with all your might to get past them, Akira. Don't look back, just keep running. Akira, terrified look on his face, says, you're kidding. She says, as I told you just now, didn't I? You just absolutely must follow my instructions. Now run. Akira then starts to book it. Akira running with everything he has left. It doesn't matter though, the beasts start gaining on him easily, letting out a terrifying roar. Alpha then does her job and provides support for Akira, letting out a yoo-hoo over here, and it catches the attention of the weapon dogs. They then fire off salvos of their weapons. Alpha then strikes a pose, as none of the weapon dog shots can land a hit on her. Giant explosions engulf her, and all we see is her silhouette. And after all of that, as the dust is settled, it looks like the pampered preening pooches have ran out of bullets. Alpha then looks and says, ah, here it comes. And the weapon dogs go flying in their own explosion. And just then, a giant flaming beast comes stomping towards Alpha, its eyes glowing in rage. It looks down on her. We see it. Well, we see to what it looks like. It's a weapon dog that might be the size of a building or a house. It looks insane with its eyeballs bulging out of its head. We then pan back to Akira still running. He asks Alpha, what's going on over there? Alpha tells him, I'm going to give you some very specific instructions now. If you hesitate for even a moment, well, you know what will happen. And she tells the young boy, reassuringly, I'm not going to let you cease to be. Now run. She then begins issuing the next set of orders that he needs to learn to stay alive. Akira, after making a right turn, put your back against the wall for 5 seconds. Return the way you came. Stop 3 seconds. Run. Pull your weapon out, and on my mark, turn around and fire the entire clip. Akira runs while a giant building explodes. 4. He jumps with the explosion behind him. 3. He tucks and rolls. 2. He gets out of the roll and keeps running. 1. Akira then turns. The countdown reaches 0. The gigantic monster's eyeball looks at Akira, and he pulls out his small handgun. I don't know what he can do here, but let's hope it works. Akira shouts as he unloads the entire magazine right in the monster's eyeball. The monster reels back in pain. The gigantic beast is toppled over. It's so large and so heavy. Just by falling over, it destroys the ground and sends debris flying towards Akira. He does his best to shield his face. Akira is dumbstruck, and he says, did we actually end it? And Alpha returns and says, "Well done, Akira." And Akira says, "To think that something so small could take out something so huge." Alpha goes, "Well, it was big, but it looked like it had a tiny brain." Alpha then says, "But of course, the one who supported you far enough to slay that beast was me, was it not?" Akira looks tired. Alpha then splits into three, bugging Akira by saying, "Well, how was my supporting? You just can't help but trust me now, can you? Don't be shy, shower me with gratitude." Akira then looks at her and says, "Thank you, Alpha." She then goes to close the deal by saying, "If you enter the contract, I'll support you in even more cooler ways. What do you say?" Akira says, "Let me think about it a little bit more." And that was it. That was chapter 1 of Rebuild World. I decided to change what my channel's doing. Maybe I'll still do the old stuff, but I'm kind of using this as an excuse to read some manga and catch up. I chose this one because I knew I liked it already. I was pretty far into it. It reminds me of when I first started reading my favorite manga, Gantz. It's giving me that kind of vibe. So I wanted to share it with you guys. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Did this hook you? Are you interested in seeing more? We get a really good nanomachines moment sudden, you know, like the senator from Metal Gear with a character kind of became my favorite because of where the nanomachines are stored on that character's body. But please let me know in the comments what you think. Personally, I'm really loving this one. I heard it's getting an anime. I don't know when, but I'm going to keep reading this one to you guys and other ones. I'll change it up every once in a while. You know, maybe I'll try to keep it to 3 stories. I don't know. But thank you for making it to the end of this. Can you please do me a favor? I already said comment, but please comment. Please like and please subscribe. It'll really help me out in the algorithm, and I'm really trying to make this channel work. And they say do something you love, right? I love manga and I love anime. Maybe I'll cover anime too. But right now I'm going to stick to manga because it's not moving and I'm less worried about YouTube's, bots and stuff catching things. I think you have to be really on it when it comes to editing video, so you don't get caught. I assume so, but I think I'm alright with manga. But please, again, like, comment, and subscribe, and I look forward to reading another story to you.